We never announce the episode title when we're actually on here. It shows up in the drop. But it's worthwhile to mention, yeah, this episode's title is going to be Shades of Grey. And we both have green drinks. That didn't even cross my mind. I felt green.
To me,
today.
Shades of Grey right now feels like drinking gravy, and that does not sound appetizing.
Ew. Yeah, that's gross.
'Tis the season.
Drinking gravy. I agree with Jordo. A gray-colored drink might not look nice. There are some good ones, though, if they've got, like, Kahlua, or, it's Kahlua that's kind of gray, isn't it? Or am I thinking of something else?
Kahlua
no,
is
Bailey's.
coffee
Bailey's
colored
Irish
'cause it's
cream.
flavored.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were thinking Irish cream. Have you ever had the, Five Farms Irish cream? It's in the cool bottle with the clasp thingamajig.
No, I've only had the cheap, plain stuff. So, no.
Bailey's is like your standard. It's good.
Right.
But that Five Farms stuff, it's pretty dang good.
Okay. I have to keep that in mind. All right. Why don't we get this started?
Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son sit down and talk about things in fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Thanks for joining us again today for what will actually be our officially 75th episode.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that sounds like a really big number, 75. I mean, we celebrated 50. This would be just another 25, but cool.
Yeah, no. I had a friend just the other day go, "What's that podcast you do?" And I told them, they look it up and they go, "Whoa, you actually have like a lot of episodes here." And I was like, we've been going at it for like a year.
Yeah. Our 1 year anniversary is creeping up on us pretty quickly here now. We'll talk about that when we get there, though. We're almost there, but we're definitely going to make it. So, how are you doing today, Zach?
I'm doing pretty well. A little bloated and food coma-y. I had a Friendsgiving last night, so it was just hours and hours of food and fine company. So I'll get to do it all over again this week, and it's great because it's my favorite holiday.
See, that's what Jordo was asking in the Discord. Was it a Thanksgiving rehearsal?
I mean, kind of. I'll be doing Thanksgiving this year for real with Rachel's family, but we had our own little Friendsgiving. Mm-hmm. And to me, that just means I get to make green bean casserole twice. So
it crossed my mind, unless I'm forgetting something, this will be the first Thanksgiving you haven't been home.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I've missed a Christmas, but I haven't missed a Thanksgiving yet.
So, wow. Ironically, since we're helping your sister move, we'll be with a whole bunch of family for Thanksgiving. A day late. We're going to celebrate it on this coming Friday. But that'll be the first time we've had Thanksgiving with your grandparents, my in-laws, as well as her two brothers and all their families. First time in 23 years.
So since before I was born.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's wow. So, silver lining. But that goes to how I'm doing today. This weekend, your mother and I have been busy in your sister's old apartment trying to pack up everything she left when she got out of Dodge this past week, just with whatever she could fit in her car. And I've been trying to follow the pattern of puzzle making that you practiced this summer, wedging things
everything
that I
as
think
we
you would
can
be
into
proud.
the van.
Yeah, you would be proud of me.
I did a really good job in there.
What I've wedged into the minivan, but we are not going to get everything. There's a few things that are going to be in the garage now, and when Melissa comes back to visit, she can pick up more. We're getting all the essentials, but I'm not sure we'll be able to get it all back out. I mean, it's so wedged in that I don't know. I'm going to have to cut the car open to get some things back out. It's amazing.
I do have to ask, as your son who cares about you, have you thrown out your back?
I have not. Not yet.
I'm proud of you.
All the heavy stuff's down there already, so we should be good. Your mother is still at the apartment. She's that kind of woman. She's still there working on just filling extra little nooks and crannies in the van and then cleaning while I get to come podcasting with you guys.
Mom never stops working. Even her vacation, she works.
Oh no, she stops working. Last night, after it got too dark to keep loading stuff up, we went to that new Magnolia Tavern right around the corner.
Ooh.
Because it's open now.
Is it really?
You know, it was coming soon. since just before the pandemic hit. So that they didn't do anything for over a year.
So coming soon for like 2 years.
But the place is awesome. And so we relaxed and we had drinks and we had food and we were pampered. It was very nice. All right. Speaking of drinks,
what are you drinking?
Okay.
I beat ya.
Well, I saw you lifted yours into the image first, so I thought maybe I'd have you say yours. They match your headphones. But you asked, so here's mine. Okay. It is a Watt-tail I am calling Easing the Badger. Very appropriate to our content today. And I haven't tasted it yet. I'm going to try right now.
You got to let us know. We're sitting in anticipation. Edge of my seat here. Not really. I'm about as far back as I can be.
That's good.
I'm glad you said that's good, because the first, I was like, I'm scared. Was that bad?
It's good. This is mostly tequila, but it's got a little Midori and then a good dose of sour mix in it. And it's delicious. Yes. I don't know if I should phrase it that way. No, I have to phrase it specifically the way Jordo put. The badger has been eased. Because if you change the to my, that might mean something totally different to somebody listening. So
nope, still means exactly the same thing.
Anyways, what are you drinking?
I can't say I've been clever enough to think up a name. It's called I Have Milk in My Apartment Right Now, so I want to make drinks with milk in it so that I don't waste milk. Which works out because I like milky drinks. That's weird. Things with a creamy, textured flavor profile. I'm not helping myself here. I don't know how to describe this in a way that doesn't sound weird. But it's 2 parts creme de cacao and 1 part creme de menthe, and then fill it up with milk. That's all.
All right. I hope you enjoy it then. It looks creamy. It kind of reminds me of the filling of the mint Oreos.
A little bit.
That's what it looks like. It looks like in color. Yeah.
It has a little bit of that chocolatey, minty taste to it too. So
right. Let's get to some of our content here today. First off, I want to talk about, there was a TV show that came out since we last, did a lot of recording.
I don't know what you're talking about. What TV show?
Yeah, The Wheel of Time. Okay, The Wheel of Time TV series finally debuted. We, when we're recording this, have 3 episodes in the bank. We've watched them.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. If you look out on social media, oh my goodness, the reactions. People love it or people hate it. There's a few in the middle, but when I read the reviews people are leaving, the people who love it are very nuanced and they can explain and they can point out, okay, there's some things that maybe not so much, but I'm working with it. The people who hate it, a lot of them, I'm like, are you reading your post before you click submit? It's not reflecting very well on you. Think through what you say a little bit. Don't just be haters.
A part of me wonders if your reaction to these comments on both sides is just a demonstration of your confirmation bias and you're reading into whatever they say based on your opinion. But that being said, for the most part, I think I actually agree with your opinion on the show in that I've been enjoying it. Do I love everything about it? No. Are there things that I don't like the same as you? Probably not. But we can talk about that another time.
Yeah. And we will. In just a moment, I'm going to explain that, but I just want to say one last thing about those reviews. Anyone who's actually posted a 1 out of 10, you're an idiot. Come at me if you want to, but that is not a review of this show. Okay?
Yeah, no,
that's a review of you didn't get what you wanted. That's not reviewing the show. Come on, you should not be giving this a 1. The quality is way better than that. You can disagree with the direction they go in the story, but that is not worthy of a 1. So I'm just saying that. Those make me mad.
I'll agree. I mean, for as bad as I didn't like the final season of Game of Thrones, even that doesn't deserve a 1.
Yeah, no, it still was a high quality show. I just disagreed with the writing a little bit then. Okay, we aren't going to talk more about the show really right now because we do have a plan specifically to talk about the TV show. And that is coming up on our slot, our participation in an upcoming charity live stream for the Lightweaver Foundation, a fundraiser called What a Holiday. We've got a whole bunch of content creators from the Wheel of Time world that are going to be coming together in over 24 hours, each taking a time out there on YouTube giving content. And our focus is going to be our reactions, our thoughts, some of our deeper thoughts about the Wheel of Time TV show, what they're putting out there, where we think they're going with it. We'll have another couple episodes that are already underway by then. And that's where we'll focus our hour on that slot. So we don't want to give away too much now. We're going to keep thinking about it, pondering it. But if you're one of our, Discordians or even a Patreon supporter and you want to share your thoughts about the show and have it blend into what we end up talking about there on the live stream, be sure to share your thoughts on Discord.
Absolutely.
How might they do that, Zach? How do they find us on Discord?
Well, in this episode, or any of our episodes in the notes, there's an invite link to our Discord. Just go ahead and click that little link, and you'll be on your way to joining the conversation.
You can always find it on our Twitter bio as well. Constantly, you are welcome. All right, speaking of people being welcome and coming to find us, we've had a new country finally in our group of people downloading our episodes. It's been a while.
Which one?
The nation of Nepal. Like right there by the Himalayas and Mount Everest. Literally the city of Kathmandu. There's somebody downloading our podcast episodes now.
Potentially controversially, because they are apparently a new listener in Nepal, and I don't want to scare them off. But if and when you get to this, please come join the Discord and explain the reasoning behind your flag, because it doesn't make sense to me. The shape is confusing, and I need help.
All right, that is an invitation to our Nepalese listener. I don't know if that's how they would say they're from Nepal. But help Zach. Please help him. Speaking of helping Zach and helping us as a whole, we do invite you to, like we said, join Discord and become part of our conversational group on talking about fantasy fiction. But you can also go onto Apple Podcast and drop us a rating, even a review, and that kind of gets the word of the podcast out so people beyond Nepal can also find that we're here. And if you want to go next level and really get involved and engaged with us and be part of our live recordings, just become a Patreon supporter, and things open up to you even with just $1 a month. You can find us Fantasy for the Ages at patreon.com. All right. One last comment before we jump into our goodness today.
What do we got?
And that's, I don't know if you know yet, but your mother, she's finally finished The Dragon Reborn, and she's the first thing she wanted to do after that is go back and read the prologue from the beginning of The Eye of the World again. I went,
Gotcha.
Good call. Go do that. It made more sense now.
It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and now she's into The Shadow Rising. And as we drive to Minnesota and back over Thanksgiving, she's going to start working through our Wheel of Time episodes of the podcast.
See, I'm a little concerned about that. Not because I said anything that, I think I'll be in trouble for, but more, I've probably said things that make me look really stupid. And that's okay.
Dude,
to
you're a
random
grown man.
people who are starting to get to know me, or my dad. But I don't want to look stupid to my mom. Not really.
You don't mind looking stupid for all the thousands of downloads that have happened already, but for your mom.
I'd like her to be able to pretend that I'm educated still.
All right. Good enough. I'll shield you, perhaps, from any cringe moments that she has riding along. All right, let's get into our episode today with the Wheel of Time content. We're in 3 different chapters of The Dragon Reborn, starting at chapter 40.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, it's called A Hero in the Night. We're going to jump over to Matrim Cawthon again.
Okay.
Approaching the town of Erangel after many days aboard the ship the Grey Gull. Erangel is where he's planning to disembark, where he plans to travel on to Camelin from, where he's going to deliver Elaine's letter to her mother, Queen Morghese.
Fantastic.
As they're approaching the town, what he sees is a little unsettling. There's some people hard at work, but he sees groups of people, men, women, even children, just kind of listlessly standing there, standing around in various places like there's no hope in the world. Despondent. He also sees ships coming and going. The ones that are leaving, many of them are empty, like just empty ships leaving the dock, and then others that are coming that are full of nothing but people. And they're going back and forth to the Kyrian side of the river, back to Andor. What are they doing? What's all this going on? Why are they bringing all these people, Zach?
Well, the good news is this is not a ring of human trafficking that Matt is stumbling upon. Rather, instead, it's a rather humanitarian effort to help refugees fleeing from the Kyrian Civil War.
Right. See, in some places, when things are bad and people want to get across the border, nations let people in. Doesn't always work that way in the real world, but that's politics. Let's not go into that. But right now, they're letting people in. And come, be welcome, be safe. But they're getting there.
And having no clue what to do, where to go.
Yeah, they're lost.
Exactly. They're displaced.
Yeah. And Matt, his thoughts also go to the fact, okay, there's a civil war going on and all these people who are unsettled now. And man, I just need to get through this and get past this before somebody says, hey, you look hale, healthy. Come be a soldier. We need you. Especially if they say, so where are you from? The Two Rivers. Hey, that's Andor. We're Andor.
Yeah.
You're part of the army. Yay. It's like, no.
Matt kind of has a similar feeling that you do right now, where he goes, it's politics. No thanks. Let's stay away from that and move on to our own thing.
Plus, the very concept of having to be a soldier and follow orders, that gives him the heebie-jeebies. I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, don't put him in a box. Not a fan.
Matt notices the ship captain eyeing him from the back of the ship. He'd never really given up trying to suck up to Matt. Because if you remember when he first got on, and Matt flashed all this coin and took the captain's ship that way, and all the captain's, type of food, he was pretty sure this guy must be someone important. Maybe even working for one of the royal houses, maybe part of the royal house or something.
Some lord in disguise.
And he kept trying to figure it out. Matt finally had shared the truth. That I'm just a messenger, really. I have a letter. He showed the letter from Elaine as I'm delivering this letter from the daughter heir, Elaine, to Queen Morghese. That's all I'm here for. But all the captain really heard was, mission for the queen. He's like, he can't get out of this guy's head.
Honestly, he got more important at that point.
Now, Matt has had some interesting experiences on the ship. He's thinking about that here because we're in his point of view. One is his luck. His amazing luck from Tar-Valon has stayed strong. Did you see that? It almost tumbled out wrong.
I was so proud of you for being wrong, and it was great.
And the TV show has said it right. It's Tar-Valon. I'm going to stick with it. Okay. Anyways, his luck has stayed good. Not Tar-Valon strong, but still spectacular.
Definitely better than average.
Yes, he's been gambling along the ride and gambled with the captain some, then with other sailors, and he's lost a little, but he's won way more than he's lost, and he is far richer than when they boarded. And keep in mind, he dumped out a bunch of coin to the captain to get the rooms that he has. Oh, he has way more than he started now. What else? What else do we learn?
Well, Matt couldn't leave well enough alone, which honestly is a pretty good trait. He decided, I've got this nice letter. It's getting carried over. Let's make sure it's not a letter that says, like, hey, put this guy in jail or something. And so he heated up a knife, did the whole little trick. I don't know where he learned this trick, but it's very useful. You can pick open a letter and then reseal it without really ever damaging anything. And he saw the letter is completely innocuous. Wow, that's a word.
English is hard.
Always.
It was a good attempt at a nice word.
But as he sees, it's just a letter from Elaine to her mom, basically being like, hey, I'm good. Things are good. Don't worry. I'm soon might be going somewhere. Don't worry about it. Don't start a war. Also, I'm an accepted now, so that's cool. And, that's it.
Yeah, it's nice when you deliver news that you think might not be received well, if you can throw in something really positive. I'm accepted already. Yay! But Matt reads the letter, and he's like, all right, it's just a letter to her mom. He can't see anything unusual or weird in it. He's sure this must have something more to it then. Maybe there's a hidden code or something. He shares it with Tom. He's like, can you decipher anything out of this? And even Tom's like, no, it just looks like a letter. I don't get it. I don't see what was so important. And Matt's especially thinking, why is it so important? Because this must be why people tried to kill me. Because I'm carrying this letter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't get it.
But he did promise that he would deliver that letter, so he's going to do it.
And he's not going to be happy about it. He is basically in his thought here, when I see these girls again, they're getting some strong words from me, because I feel like I've been used.
You think he'll write them a strongly worded letter?
Yes. Tom comes up on deck then at this point, and they talk together about the circumstances that they can see in Erangel that we've already described.
Mm-hmm.
You know, times look pretty rough. It's likely, Tom is saying, to cost us a pretty penny for boarding and food. It's a good thing you did so well gambling here. We're going to need all that coin, I think. And especially with all the food you'd been eating, Tom says. Because apparently, Matt continued to eat way more than the average person through most of the ride on the ship until just a couple days back. Why, Zach? Remind us why he was still sucking down so much food.
He was still healing and recovering and managing with all the various post-dagger separation anxiety that he had, and really eating his feelings about that in a more physical manner.
But a couple days ago, apparently, he had fully recovered because he just reverted to a normal appetite. Now, the funny thing here the book points out is he kept eating all the food at the same levels, at least from the outside appearance, but he was dumping overboard the extra the last 2 days. Tom's like, why did you do that? That is really a jerk move. And Matt says, well, the captain deserved it. He's a jerk. So, I couldn't help poking him a little more. And in fact, he still can't help poking him a little more, because as they finally pull up to the dock, the captain comes on over, sorry to see you go. It looks a little rough here. Are you sure you want to get off? But he really wants him to get off, you can kind of tell. And Matt's like, yeah, I was thinking maybe I'd stick around for one last meal, but, And the captain, pales. It's like, I got no food left, is in the back of his head.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but no, we must go. And that's where Tom's like, really? Really, dude? One more poke like that? It's like, I am who I am. Tom pokes back. He's like, okay, so you think the captain's been a dweeb, and so you're making life hard on him. Because you're such a generous and giving person compared to the captain? And Matt has a response. What's Matt's response there? It's classic.
It's pretty great. He says, I'll help anyone who can pay. Only fools in stories do something for nothing.
That's what he says. And then what does he do? Well, they get off the ship.
Yeah.
And they're heading into town. And as they're moving through the crowds and all these groups that are just kind of hanging around, they pass a woman who has 3 children, all very young. The littlest are both girls, and they're crying, and the boy a little older, but he seems to be trying to tough it out. I'm the man here, and I'm not going to cry, but he looks very destitute and sad. And Matt impulsively pulls out a fistful of coins, puts them in the woman's hand, says, buy the kids some food. And then Tom kind of looks at him. It's like, hey, a moment ago you just said,
Tom,
It's
fine. This is a story. Matt's a fool. He can do something for nothing.
Well, he says to himself mentally, though, the crying was getting on my nerves.
Definitely what it was. Yeah, the something he was getting out of it was stopping their crying. Yeah.
All right, so now moving off the docks, they come to a soldier. There's a soldier that's kind of trying to move people along, get them out of the way, get them farther into the city. And they come up to him, and Matt asks some questions here, trying to figure out what's the deal, how are things? And what they learn is that, oh man, things are bad. There have been so many people coming from Kyrian, the city can't feed them all. They don't know what to do. They have to kind of keep pushing the refugees out farther on. And in fact, it's gotten pretty bad. When they ask, should we be able to buy a horse? He kind of almost laughs. He's like, probably not. I'm pretty sure all the horses have been eaten by now.
Rough.
That's pretty bad. In addition, they learn that every inn is full. They're not likely to find anywhere. Honestly, they're going to have to just move along. That's what the soldier thinks. And then he says, all right, so move along, move along. As they do move along, Tom comments on, this really seems odd and rough. And he's particularly struck by the last thing the soldier said.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that last point that the soldier shared with them then, Zach? What's going to change tomorrow?
What is changing tomorrow? I am... What?
This is my fault, listeners, because I make the notes for these episodes, and Zach has them. I share them with him, but I was jumping all over the notes in the last few moments.
You threw a very specific question at me, and the notes are all jumped around. I'm like, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
He's like, I'm lost, and he's trying to remember where the heck. Okay, Morghese has just passed down the decree that they're closing the border. They're not going to take anybody else after today. They can't absorb anymore. That's it. Stopping. And that's what Tom is going, what? That does not sound like Morghese.
Gotcha.
She has a soft heart for the poor and the hungry. Why would she be turning people away? Now, my real question for you then is...
Okay, this one maybe I can answer.
Yes, a first-time reader experiencing this should note something in the fact that Tom talks about the queen this way. What might a first-time reader catch on to?
Well, two things, really. One, it seems like he kind of knows this person better than just like the you know your ruler, especially in a land where they don't have television to get first-hand impressions of people. Probably matter. Secondly, he seems to be on a first-name basis. Just saying.
Yeah. Might want to remember that. Matt and Tom then go on to try the inns, and just like the soldier said, there's no room in the inn. Tom's got standards. He's a gleeman. He's like, well, I'll flash my gleeman cloak and get us a space, and nope, that doesn't work anywhere. He gets laughed at. After 4 straight rejections, they get to a 5th inn, and he tries it again, and still nothing. And Matt had been saying before, what about maybe let's see if there's a place in the stable or something that we can get in. Tom's standards were above that, but okay, all this rejection, he's like, well, what about the stable on the 5th try? And still they get shut down. The innkeeper's like, stables are for horses. What horses I still have.
The horses that weren't taken to the butchers.
Right. You can't be there. That's not going to work. And then Matt does his whole to-do with flashing coins again and manages to buy them a space in the stable anyway by offering a ridiculous amount of coinage.
Money can't buy you love, nor can it buy you happiness, but if you pay enough, it can buy a really dirty,
buy you a
terrible
crappy space
stable.
in a stable.
Yeah.
Now, in the course of that conversation and bartering back and forth a little bit, Matt had picked up on the fact that in the stable, 2 of those horses belong to the innkeeper. So then he takes it next level because they need horses. He's like,
we'll buy those 2.
How much for those horses then? Because, I've got coin. And again, the innkeeper's like, you don't have enough. You don't have enough money for that. It's like, all right, tell you what, how about we wager my 1 roll of the dice against your 2 rolls. Whoever wins, either I win, I get your horses, or you win and you get all this money. Okay, and he put, again, a ridiculous amount of money up to do. And the innkeeper, he's just like most people, greedy. He's like, oh, this is too good to pass up. Well, as Tom and Matt are then, in a few minutes, working their way over to the stable where they've bought a space, they're also looking for, okay, and where are those 2 horses that I now own?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom is like, dude, 5 6s? Really?
It happened.
He got the best possible roll.
He got Yahtzee. It's fine.
And Matt, he's like, hey, you get lucky sometimes. But even he has to admit to himself,
that was really
he knew
lucky.
He'd win that bet. Somehow, he knew. So he wasn't risking anything.
It's kind of like the opposite for me. I go into something like that, I'd have the advantage, the 2 rolls, and I'd know I was going to lose. Yeah.
Well, they're here It's time to get comfortable. They climb up to the hayloft. They had bought a little food from the innkeeper too, again, for a ridiculous amount of money, but they split the food up, and they're going to eat a little bit, and they do that, and then they're relaxing, and Tom lights up his pipe, and he's going to have a smoke, and before they actually are done and turning into sleep, the doors to the stable open again, and a woman walks in, dragging a cart with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she closes the doors. She quickly lights a lantern and gets out some food for herself. Now, Tom, he notes, she lit that lantern way faster than anyone normally can do. How did she do that?
Must just be really good at it or something.
Yeah. Well, spoiler light focus of our podcast, that was important, okay? That she was able to light a lantern just like that. Remember that. Just as Mat is about to announce their presence, and this is something that's kind of sensitive. Have you ever had that? I know it's happened to me, where like somebody walks into a room or something and you're already there doing something, but they don't notice you. They're clearly focused on their own things, and then a little time passes and they still don't notice you, and now it's awkward as you're like, I don't want to freak you out.
I mean, on the one hand, yes, I have that happen a lot, actually. I'm a quiet presence. That being said, I don't warn people I'm there. I just wait for eventually they do freak out realizing I'm there, and I'm like, it's fine, I was here the whole time.
As a former school principal, I would go around and visit classrooms before school, after school, just stop in, talk to teachers. And there was one teacher in particular who just every time I'd step into her room, I would freak her out. Not because she was afraid of me, just because she was always so focused on her own things. I would intentionally try to open her door really clumsily, rattle the doorknob, bang into something. Still didn't work. Then I'd finally like, hey, how you doing? Some people are just like that.
It happens.
Anyways, Mat's giving thought here. Okay, we need to introduce, let her know we're here. She's not alone. But we got to do it right so we don't freak her out. And he's just about to do that when the doors open again and 4 men come walking in. And there's a confrontation right here between the woman and the 4 men who clearly were looking for her.
Well, that's not good.
There's a conversation takes place. Mat and Tom are just overhearing. Again, no one knows they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn a few things. What's the woman's name?
Aludra.
And these 4 men who are following, the one in charge is named
Tammuz.
And they don't care for each other. Now, people should remember those names, but they might not initially. As we go on a little further into this, hopefully it'll come back to you pretty quick. These 2 are speaking in an accent that to Mat seems very foreign. He's not seen them before. Again, we as readers have. Other characters in the Wheel of Time have met these before or seen them, but they're new to Mat. So this sounds a little different, the way they talk.
Definitely.
We learn that the men have been chasing Aludra, and she blames them for having caused her to be kicked out of some guild. They've chased her down because, even though she was kicked out, she's still been trying to use the secrets of the guild to make a living. And why are they here now?
It's like, hey, just because you kicked me out doesn't mean I have to stop. Oh, I have to stop because otherwise you're going to kill me? I'm still not going to stop. They're here to kill her.
Yes. So they converge on her, and Mat, well, his instincts lead him to defend a woman. Good on Mat. He just basically leaps down into the fray. Doesn't think about this.
It helps that in this situation, it seems pretty clear that one of these 2 groups is a little more in the right.
Yeah, at least from his perspective, for sure. He jumps down there, which startles the guys, breaks up for a moment from them being able to take her out. So the guys are all kind of knocked away, and then he's just standing here. Just Mat, all by himself. He's got no weapons. He's got nothing. What was he thinking?
He wasn't.
As the men are getting up, clearly now looking at Mat as the one to attack, Tom is upstairs going, yo, Mat! Tosses down his quarterstaff. Ooh, now we got something different going on.
And now we're smashing pumpkins. Watermelons.
Yeah, we've learned Mat's a little handy with a quarterstaff, have we not?
A wee bit.
And so the result in just a few moments is what?
It didn't matter that it was 4v1, not really.
Nope. Wham, bam, thank you, sir. All 4 of these guys are on the ground unconscious.
It's pretty nice.
Mat didn't kill anybody, but he took them out.
Or at least it doesn't focus on them and anyone being dead. Could they die from their wounds later? Maybe.
Maybe, but this is fantasy, so of course they won't.
Yeah, we're going to pretend like they walk out and make a speedy recovery.
Now, with the fight done, Tom joins them, climbing slowly down the ladder. Slowly, because that bum leg of his... What's he got that bum leg from, Zach?
It's from the Murderel back in Whitebridge. A couple books back now. But it still bothers him, and something like a ladder? That's annoying.
So they may be able to survive concussion after concussion after concussion, but a little mix-up with a Murderel leaves one guy limping the rest of his life. It's like hit or miss, I guess. Which injuries matter?
Depends on whether you want it to be thematically important.
Mat is curious as to, okay, what were these secrets they were talking about? But Tom already has this all figured out. And he comes down saying, Eludra, you are obviously an illuminator.
A what?
And the guild, they're very diligent to keeping the secret of fireworks away from others. So that's what this was all about. Now, in case any of our listeners haven't remembered, where might they remember Eludra and Tammuz from?
The last time we saw the both of them, Rand was hiding from some Trollocs, and he may have knocked over a fireworks tube and destroyed a wall and a whole mess of fireworks outside of Cairhien.
That's where we should remember them from. And that's what this is all about. We're going to find out now. See, Eludra acknowledges she had been an illuminator in Cairhien. She'd actually been in charge, but when that whole to-do happened, thank you, Rand, it nearly destroyed the chapter house, and all the blame was put on Eludra, in part thanks to Tammuz, who shifted all the blame, lied about what happened, and took advantage of it. So I'm going to picture that Tammuz is the one in charge now, see?
Oh, yeah.
At her expense.
Notably, we remember there was that little conversation where Eludra's going, hey, you remembered to lock up all the doors, right? And Tammuz was like, yeah, and I checked them all. And yet one of the doors seemed to have apparently been unlocked, which was how Rand got in.
Except, now, we don't know. Tammuz may have checked it, and Selene was the reason it was unlocked now.
However, as far as Eludra and Tammuz would know,
That's right. Well, Tom notes that the king of Cairhien, Galdrian,
the one who died?
Yeah, none of this matters anymore, really. Eludra shares, well, the Illuminators Guild, they practically blame me for even that. And for the Civil War, as if that one evening's disaster with the fireworks set off everything else. And Tom kind of flinches at that. Why would Tom be flinching over that, Zach?
Tom may or may not also have a really heavy-handed part in causing all this.
He may indeed. Yeah. But we won't talk about that now. Let's just go on with the story. Eludra moves on to say, Mat, I do appreciate your intervention here. Thank you. It was nice not to die at the hands of Tammuz and his men this evening. Let me pay you for that. And she actually pulls out some of her fireworks.
Ooh.
I kind of picture her just unrolling a whole package to show this vast variety, like a variety pack someone could have bought of fireworks. There's all these different sizes and shapes, and she's just going to give them to Mat. Now, she does not know what she's doing. Mat frickin' loves fireworks.
I mean, she does know what she's doing, just doesn't know why it matters to Mat.
Well, this is the best part, and I love what the story talks about here, because he's been fascinated with fireworks ever since he was a boy. And she's going to give him these fireworks, and she's sharing the details of the different sizes and how you could light them and what you need to be careful about. And one of the things she specifically says is, never put them close to fire, because that could cause them to just explode randomly. Okay. And never cut them open, because if the insides are exposed to air, likewise, they could just randomly blow up. Well, Mat, as a kid, already got in trouble for doing exactly that.
Yeah.
For getting his hands on fireworks, cutting it open to see what was inside. And he didn't blow up. So, what do you think the odds are, Zach, that he's gonna obey all the safety instructions she's giving him?
I think the odds are pretty low, and I don't really blame him. I've been there. I've done that. It's quite fun opening it up and seeing how it works and making your own firework instead.
She even tries to tell him, this is a good way to lose your fingers, even lose your hand. Yeah, he's not worried about losing things like that. That's one of our pregnant pauses. Mat doesn't sound impressed at all about this. But at the same time, Tom's like, you don't need to give that much. I mean, you could sell that stuff for a lot of money. And she's like, no, don't worry. It's not like I'm giving you the only fireworks I have. I'm all good. This is fine. This is how I want to show my thanks. So, all right. Mat's a kid in a candy store. He's got all these new toys.
Definitely.
And at this point, Aludra then gathers her stuff and says, I need to be gone. Before these blokes wake up, I'm heading out. She's about to head out. And Tom says, whoa, hold up. One question. How did you light that lantern so easy? We talked about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And she smiles. She says, I can't be sharing all of my secrets. But she references an invention that she calls sticks.
Okay.
She says, when I've perfected that, I'm going to be very, very rich. Any idea what she might be talking about, Zach?
That's absolutely just matches. Come on.
There you go. All right. We might hear more about this later. We might. It might be important. Who knows? But yeah, matches. Aludra, she's gone. Mat and Tom, they're like, maybe we should do the same. The guys on the floor are starting to, they're starting to perk up a little bit. So they go ahead, they get those new horses, and they're going to head off. Mat asks Tom, okay, Tom, if I ever get this hero complex thing again, just kick me. Don't let me do something stupid like that again. And Tom asks him, would you actually have done anything different, though? I mean, think about it. Would you? And Mat has no good answer for that.
No.
He just says, no, seriously, just kick me.
At least then he'll be kicked before doing something stupid.
And that's where the chapter ends. I'm no bloody hero. Chapter 41. Bye-bye, Mat.
Bye.
Who should we go hang out with now?
I don't know, maybe Perrin?
That sounds reasonable. The next two chapters will be Perrin points of view. This first one being called A Hunter's Oath.
So we're back on a different boat, not that one that we were just on with Mat. Having left that one, we haven't had enough boat time. Let's get back to Perrin, where they hopped on and we're going down to Illion.
They have a thing for birds, because Mat was on the gray gull. This is called the Snow Goose.
It's a common theme, I guess.
I guess. It's making me think, and this isn't in our notes, Baal Doman's ship in the Eye of the World. What was the name of that one?
The Spray.
Is that a bird? Is there a bird called a spray? I don't know.
Not that I know of. I think it's
I just tried to make a theory. Emmeline's there's an osprey.
I don't think that's
close.
Quite what we're looking for, but...
Well, just like our previous chapter started with Mat arriving at his destination, here we have Perrin arriving at another destination. This time it's chapter. Wow. Okay, I have to tell you what happened. There was a noise behind me in the house, and I'm alone. So I was like, what was that?
It's a big house. It makes noises.
I still don't know what that was, but it distracted me. So yeah, the wrong word came out of my mouth. Emmeline's like, are you okay there, Jim? Blah, 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 blah.
Don't worry. If something does appear actually behind you, I'll warn you right before it gets there.
Right. Oh, I appreciate that. That is very kind of you. Well, we're pulling into a new destination. Emmeline is not helping in the Discord. And Jordo, we'll see what happens until you stop talking. All right, so chapter 41, we're arriving at a different town. Not Erangel now, it's Illion.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to Mat's destination, Perrin's in one of the great cities.
Oh, yes. This is not a podunk town.
No, we've seen 2 great cities so far. What great cities have we seen already?
Camelin and Kyrian.
And now, Illion.
Now, what makes it a great city versus just a city? Probably its size, its vastness, maybe even its political or economic power, but for the most part, it's big.
Yeah, Perrin is really noticing how big as he compares it to where he grew up. You know, he sees some tanners working down there by the docks, and he's like, they probably put out more leather in a day than we do in a year in Emmons Field. Just the scope is pretty significant. So we're getting the impression this is a big city again.
Mm-hmm.
Spending time in Perrin's thoughts, we also pick up a few other things that have taken place during this boat ride down from where they first got on to now their final destination of Illion. One, if you remember, there was a conversation between Perrin and Moraine.
Yes.
Where Perrin asked about the name Zareen, but then didn't say anything about what he knew about this other passenger.
No, he said nothing.
Yeah, in a moment of pique, he chose not to say anything. Well, along the boat ride, Moraine met Zareen, also known as Fail or Fail.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, by the way, stubbornly continue to call her Fail because they feel like she's a fail. We just put that out there, but we're going to say Fail. She and Moraine talked with each other. Fail, Zareen, she shares, yeah, I'm a hunter for the horn. I'm going to be following you guys now. Oh, by the way, I know you're an Aes Sedai, and that's a warder. Oh, yeah, Perrin knew all of this from when I first got on the boat. Okay, that does not go well. Moraine's a little put out.
Yeah, Moraine seems more or less fine with Fail in general, but the whole Perrin didn't say anything but knew all this?
Yeah, that's not cool.
The hell, man?
Not cool. As they're coming to the end of the boat ride, there has been some building tension between Moraine and Zareen, because Moraine clearly doesn't want her sticking around with them, and Zareen has been very clear, I am sticking around with you. I am following you. I am following my hunter's oath, and I believe sticking with you might lead me somewhere important, like the Horn. I mean, silly talk that Moraine would ever have had anything to do with the Horn of Valir.
Anyway, Perrin, caught in the middle, is not happy at all with anything, and
nope,
continues to brood.
The one person who has been kind of happy has been Lan.
Mm-hmm.
As he's been watching Moraine and Zareen meow, meow, at each other, and he seems to be finding it chuckle-worthy. He's been caught a little smirk in his mouth as he watches either one of them at times. At one point, Moraine actually calls him on it. She's like, is something funny? And he's like, no. I mean, I certainly would never laugh at you, Moraine Sedai, but, when I see things that are maybe like a joke, a little humorous, I should appreciate it. After all, he says, I understand Morel Sedai is known to tell her warders jokes, so I must get used to humor, I figure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's he really saying there, Zach? What's that about?
I mean, this might be more petty back and forth between Moraine and Lan for good reason, with the whole, Moraine's gonna pass the bond on, she's doing things, all this mess, and Lan's having a bit of fun with it.
Yes. Well, Jordo said it very nice, passive aggressiveness. I think that's a little bit of what's happening there, too.
It's interesting, because Lan can be very passive and aggressive, but he's not usually passive-aggressive.
The tension on the ship has grown more and more as this ride has gotten closer to Illion, so much so that even all the sailors can tell this is not a good thing between these two women. So whenever they're around, the sailors get silent. Like, nobody wants to attract attention, particularly from Moraine, because they do now know she's an Aes Sedai. She's not real happy that they all know she's an Aes Sedai. And the fact that they know she's an Aes Sedai and she's not happy, okay, that makes them even more nervous. How do they know she's an Aes Sedai?
Well,
I mean, what happened?
There was a whole mess. There was a shouting match. Fail and Perrin were really going into it. It happens, but at some point someone went, "You and that Aes Sedai," and everyone just heard for about a mile and a half.
Oops.
And it's a good thing they were on the river, because all the people on the shore who heard, they were far gone, so it's fine.
The secret was out. Also, sitting here thinking, Perrin is reflecting on Min's viewing, where he'd been told there'd be a falcon perched on his shoulder. And of course, Zareen's nickname, Fail, means falcon.
Seems to make sense. Maybe there's a connection there.
If she's the falcon that I'm stuck with, and she's this miserable, who in the heck's going to be a hawk? And am I going to have to deal with two women like Zareen? He's not real excited thinking about those prospects. There's one other person in the company we have not talked about yet, Zach. We haven't mentioned Loyal at all. What's up with Loyal?
That's because he often, for being so big, kind of fades into the background.
Well, he's fading intentionally right now because he can sense that same tension everybody else does, and he does not like when people don't get along.
Not to get sad about it, but bringing back our puppy metaphor, when mom and dad are fighting, the puppy in the room often just kind of will shirk around and not want that aggression put towards them. It's a very sad moment.
It is. So he's kept himself down below decks in his room. Regardless of how hot it is, he's just staying out of the way. In fact, the only time he's come above deck is at night when nobody else is really around to have a smoke. And that's it. Then back he goes, keeping himself kind of sequestered. I am staying out of the way. Now, taking in the scope of Illion.
Yes, very big.
Perrin is thinking it's likely a place where there aren't going to be any wolves.
They don't really like people, and there's a lot of people.
Right. So he reaches out just to check, and sure enough, there's no wolves nearby. He's mentally in the clear.
Strangely, though, that doesn't comfort him.
No, it's weird. It's like that's what he wants, right? And yet it feels like something's missing.
I'm all alone.
Nobody knows. He has, however, also seen, throughout this trip, there really weren't many wolves, and his dreams have also been pretty wolf-free. Remember, way at the beginning, he had that experience with a dream where he ran into Hopper, the wolf that's dead, but apparently somehow isn't dead. And he has seen Hopper a couple more times.
Stumbling places he shouldn't be.
The only times he's seen Hopper was when somehow he went to sleep and he ended up in that strange dream, what he's thinking of as the wolf dream. It's not really just a dream. And each time he ended up there, he saw Hopper again, but not, here, let me take you to show you things you need to see. Here, follow me through the fog that turns dark and all that. No, this time he just gets chased out of the dream. Right away. Hopper literally says, you are too young yet, too new, and makes him go out.
We're okay with that.
Yeah, otherwise his dreams have been pretty normal. The ship finally completes its docking. The company disembarks, including Zareen, who we humorously see here flirt with Perrin. So I don't think she's just following them for the horn. I think she's got eyes for this blacksmith.
Oh, no. Robert Jordan made him and every other main character attractive.
Pretty much. That changes later in the series. But not yet. Before we can go into further exploration of what kind of flirting and young love stuff, whatever might be going on, there's a confrontation that we've all been waiting for.
Oh, no.
This whole build-up along the journey. Moraine pulls up, addresses Zareen, who, by the way, insists, my name is Fail, but Moraine completely ignores it and calls her Zareen again on purpose. She says, this is where it's time we part ways. But Fail does not back down. She says, hey, I'm a hunter for the horn. I made an oath to follow wherever I seem to be led because it might lead me to the Horn of Valir.
Hey, Fail.
I'm sticking with you.
I'm just going to say, have you ever heard of something called, consent? If they're actively telling you you're not allowed to be around, you shouldn't stick around. Just throwing it out there.
Well, she's not buying that. It's like, I am staying. Moraine presses. She uses a tone of voice and body language, making it clear this is a dangerous thing you are considering, that you are pushing for. Are you sure you really want to insist on staying? And she's going all official Aes Sedai, and Lan even then moves in because Fail says, hey, I know, Aes Sedai, you can't hurt me. You can't stop me.
That's fine.
You're not allowed to.
Lan could kill you.
And that's what Lan implies. Are you sure you know as much as you think you know and that you have nothing to worry about? And Perrin, he doesn't dig this. He's like, hey, There's no need for threats here. Come on. Moraine just gives a glance at Perrin that shuts him up real fast.
Shut up, Perrin.
Then she turns back to Fail, and she lays out conditions. Fine. You want to come with us? Here's the deal. And Lan, does a double take. What? There's even an option? What the heck? But yep, she lays it out. She says, fine, if you want to come with, you have to swear by your hunter's oath that you will do exactly what I say. You will come where I go. Whatever I say, you follow, and you will not question anything. No questions.
That's a really crappy deal that I feel like Moraine always asks for, and no one has ever actually followed along with.
There's two extra pieces to this deal. Once she agrees to come with them, she can't leave until, she's allowed to leave. She is stuck with them. There is no getting out of this. If you're going to come, there's no getting out. But because you've pressed me this far, and here I'm like, okay, Moraine, are you just really going overboard now? What the heck? Because you've pressed me this far, you either are coming with us now under these conditions, or you will be stuck here in Illion until I come back and give you permission to leave. In other words, there's no following. There's no way you go anywhere. You are stuck here in Illion, or now you're coming with me and jumping when I say jump. Wow.
And I mean, on the hand and believable placement here that, what if Fael's an agent of the dark and all that mess? Sure, Moraine's aware the stakes are high, but, this is just petty power moves. That's how it feels.
Moraine tries to emphasize the stakes a little bit by saying, if I allow you to come with me, you're going to learn things that you really shouldn't know. And at that point, I cannot allow you to come into the hands of others. So you will have to be with us. And if you even try to get away, well, I will have to take measures to make sure you never talk. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, there's some heaviness being laid down here.
Yep, right on the dock says we're here. Everyone's seeing it. It's fine. No.
This is a very fast thing that's happening, though. Boom, boom, boom. And Fael, she's really kind of like, yeah, okay. Because she wants to come with them anyway, so it doesn't really matter what she has to promise. You're just saying, I can be one of you? Well, that's what I wanted. All right, I swear.
Also, Fael, like any rational person who's not magically bound to their oaths, goes, I could probably sneakily get away with, not doing exactly what you say.
Oh, how little she knows. How little. But with that done, Moraine's like, all right, well, you're in. Great. Then she looks at Perrin. She's your trouble. Your responsibility now. Deal with it.
But
Perrin's like,
why?
Mine? What the heck? And Fael's like, I'm no one's responsibility. I can take care of myself. The Aes Sedai ignores them both. She simply has this to say, and she says it to Perrin. This was worthwhile to repeat word for word. She says to Perrin, it seems you have found Min's falcon, ta'veren. I have tried to discourage her, but it appears she will perch on your shoulder whatever I do. The pattern weaves a future for you, it seems. Yet remember this. If I must, I will snip your thread from the pattern. And if the girl in dangers must be, you will share her fate.
That's just
gulp.
I'm sorry, but that's extra unnecessary threats. Not only are you saying, hey, Perrin, if you get in the way, you're dead. But also, if this random person who joined us and has no more connection to you than me, except for a viewing that Min has, if she gets in the way, I'll kill her and you.
As Discord is pointing out, this is a good throwback to the Eye of the World. She made a similar threat to the three boys back then, when they considered humorously running off to Illion and seeing the world. And here we are in Illion. Yeah.
It feels more fear-inspired than necessary to me.
Moraine figures this is all done, though. She gets on her horse, ready to go. Perrin's protests are ignored, and now he's getting peppered with questions from Zareen. You're ta'veren? Who's this Min? What's this thing about perching on your shoulder? And you better not try to take responsibility for me. And he's just like, criminy.
I see. When Moraine said she's your responsibility, what she meant was I'm intentionally putting threads down here that she'll pick up on and become your problem.
I'm getting bullied by Moraine on one side. I'm getting bullied by Zareen on this side. He's thinking, Rand and Mat never seem to have any problems like this. But then this is funny. His thoughts go, well, okay, there was Nynaeve. I mean, she bullied all of us back in the Two Rivers. Well, okay, Mistress Luhan. You know, I had to live in their house. She was kind of hard on me at times, it's true. And, well, there was Egwene. I mean, Egwene was mostly at Rand, but I sometimes got bullied by Egwene. Well, and yeah, there was Egwene's mom. She kind of acted like everyone's mom and told us what to do. Well, and then there was the women's circle pushing everyone around. He's kind of coming to the recognition that, you know, maybe women are just like this. Well, maybe this is just how it is.
Just saying, Perrin, if you and the other boys didn't need to be pushed around, maybe they wouldn't push you around.
Oh, someone's not taking side Perrin. All right.
I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility.
Perrin, he's up on his horse now. He reaches down, grabs Zareen's arm, and just yanks her up so that she ends up seated behind him because she doesn't have a horse. And he says, you know, Moraine's going to need to get you a horse. This is too far for anyone to walk. She squawked when she got yanked in the air, and she's like, well, okay, you're strong. I get that.
Squawked? Like a bird? Like a falcon?
I totally loved it. That's exactly what it said. Squawked. And I thought like a bird. Yes. It's got to be on purpose. Gotta be.
Oh, yeah.
But Zareen's like, hey, nobody needs to buy me a horse. I can get a horse. And what do you mean? We're going to be walking too far, so I'd need a horse. Where are we going? And Perrin's like, no questions, remember?
Now, Perrin, she did say no questions to Moraine, not no questions to you.
Yeah, let's see if that keeps working for Perrin. The chapter ends with a little touch of extra humor. In each of these conversational interchanges, Zareen has been using descriptors at Perrin. Instead of saying Perrin, she's like called him blacksmith or big man or something. She never uses his name. So he makes a fuss here. It's like, okay, so you're coming with us? My name is Perrin, Zareen. Not anything else. Perrin. Perrin Ibarra. And her reply? And mine is Fail. Shaggy hair. And I just love that. It's like, no, you can't boss me around. So Perrin, in his frustration, he boots his horse, Stepper, and Stepper, whoo, okay, here we go. And Fail has to grab onto him. Just grab around his waist so she doesn't fall off the horse. And he can swear he hears her laughing.
Oh, yeah, she's going on an adventure.
And kind of getting the reactions out of him that perhaps exactly were what she wanted. Let's move to our final chapter today. The namesake of my drink,
which is empty.
Sadly empty.
You might need another.
I'll have to take care of that later. Chapter 42 is called Easing the Badger. We stay with Perrin and crew now as they move into Illion. Perrin and company proceed through the city, and we get a feel for what another of the great cities of this world are like.
So, completely unrelated, but you said Perrin and company, and I'm just now picturing a completely different take on this chapter, where it's actually Oliver and company, but with Perrin as a wolf and everything around him like that. And I think it would be really entertaining.
Nice. One of the things Perrin notices about this city is that it's crisscrossed with canals. There's bridges over the canals, and the canals seem to be another mode of transit. Like there's barges being pushed up and down the canals, just like normally a city might have horses and carts moving goods back and forth. We get the picture here that this is a city kind of modeled after like our Venice. Okay, where there's these buildings, but there's also these waterways all around, and they're used as well to get from A to B.
If it works, it works.
He notices many of the men are wearing the beards common to Illioners, with their upper lip bare. Just like a good old friend of ours we've known. What was that guy's name?
I believe it do be Baal Doman.
You do be right. And as they're riding through the town, they eventually get to the center of the city, where there's a big open square.
Mm-hmm.
Zareen tells him this is called the Square of Tammuz. And it was here where I swore my oath as a hunter for the horn.
Okay.
Perrin also notices on one side of this great place, there's a huge palace, and on the other side, there's like a mirror copy. And well, not mirror, it's identical to the other palace. So there's two palaces opposite each other, but one of them is like just a tiny bit smaller. Now, I don't just mean a little shorter. I mean, in every dimension, it's just a little smaller.
It's like one was made in the normal scale, and the next one was like, all right, we're going to make this at 1.1 scale. It'll be great. The building contractors will hate us.
Serene shares the story behind this. She's knowledgeable. She says, yeah, that one over there, that's the king of Illion's palace. And it was built by the first king of Illion. And the king rules Illion, but he also deals with the Council of Nine, the 9 most powerful lords that also have influence. And the first king told the Council of 9, you can also have a palace if you want, build whatever you want, it just can't be bigger than mine. So their move was to build the exact same palace.
Gotcha.
But literally 2 feet smaller in all dimensions. So that little bit percentage-wise that was down.
I feel like when you say 2 feet smaller in all dimensions, do you mean like the grand dimensions were made 2 feet smaller and then everything adjusted accordingly? Or like every dimension was 2 feet? Because if it was every dimension, that'd be much smaller.
Yes, I think that's what's meant. The book does not go into those details. The math doesn't work. I get that. The tiniest room doesn't exist, perhaps. I get that. So I'm sure it was incrementally all the way through. But that's well beyond the writing RJ was doing.
I want to see the 1 foot pantry that got reduced by 2 feet in all dimensions. I think it would be really fun. Negative space.
I want to see a 1 foot pantry. Nobody has a 1 foot pantry.
I mean,
what are you thinking?
That's
12 inches?
A cupboard.
Really?
It's a cupboard.
No cupboard is 12 inches.
My cupboard is 12 inches deep.
No, they are not.
Deep, yeah.
We're not. No. They're deeper than 12 inches.
No, I don't think so.
You can't get a plate in 12 inches.
You absolutely can.
No, you can't. Well, a small plate, maybe.
I'm looking at a cupboard right now. I'm going to find a ruler after the episode.
Okay, this tangent, I think, is a complete waste of time of our listeners.
I think it's fun.
Moving on, we get just one last little bit of understanding of the politics of Illion when Zareen says, so, okay, this one-upmanship and type things, it's kind of been the way things work here. So the powers that be are the king, the Council of 9, and then an assemblage that has to work with both the king and the council. And there's so much politicking going on all the time that really they don't get a lot done. And they don't really mess with anything. So the average person in Illion has a pretty good life because the government kind of leaves them alone.
That works out pretty well.
Yeah. Perrin notices Loyal doesn't look very comfortable. Not physically. It's like something set him off, and Perrin's not sure why, because he's noticed people aren't freaking out. They see Loyal, and they instantly seem to know that this is a Ogier. Other places have been very freaked out, but not here. So what's going on, Loyal? Why are you uncomfortable? Well, we learn from Loyal that Illion is one of the towns where Ogier do come as stonemasons rather often. Because they built the palaces, they built a number of the structures here, and they still come back to do repair work.
Regular maintenance.
The problem with that is the closest steading is Loyal steading.
That's not
steading
so
Shangtai.
Fun for Loyal, considering as far as he's concerned, he ran away from his steading because they were taking too long to give him permission to leave.
So they would all know that. If he gets caught by one of his own community's people, they're dragging him home by his ears. He does not want that. Perrin's like, no, Loyal, relax. Come on, you're going to be okay. Now, Perrin is thinking, okay, as he talks to Loyal, as he talks about anything, that Zareen's right behind him. And he doesn't want her hearing things she shouldn't hear. Perrin's still got this delusional idea that we can still separate her from the party as long as we work it out before she hears things that you can't go back from.
Honestly, though, I think it does give a little bit of a final realization for that I enjoy being highlighted, that other people can hear conversations and eavesdrop. If you're just walking through, don't talk about sensitive things.
Okay.
You never know who's listening.
But he knows right now for sure she's listening. So he's trying to just be very intentional at what he says and how he says it. So he says to Loyal, without referencing the whole backstory of stuff. Just that, I'm sure Moraine wouldn't let you be taken back to studying Shangtai. You've been valuable. I'm sure she would want you to remain with the party. And Loyal, he perks right up. Why, Perrin, you're right, of course. I mean, what if we have to use the ways again? I would be needed for that. And Perrin's mentally going, crap.
Why'd you have to mention
That's
it,
another
Loyal?
thing Zareen knows now. He wasn't picking up what I was laying down. Of course, Loyal then goes on to get all droopy puppy again. Mm-hmm. Oh, I hope that's not why she'd keep me. I don't want to go into the ways again.
That's fair.
I mean, who would make him go into the ways? That's silly talk, right?
Moraine definitely would do that.
Oh, but no one else would do that.
No, nobody.
Up ahead then, Perrin overhears Moraine speak quietly to Lan that something's wrong here in Illion. So as they keep going on, Perrin tries to look around a little more intentionally and perceptively to see if he can sense what Moraine has already sensed. And he starts to see it. It's the people.
Okay.
Everyone seems a little too tense, a little on edge. Like they're almost at a tipping point, ready to explode.
Interesting.
But not everybody. Yeah, he's like maybe 4 out of every 5 people seem to have this anger maybe simmering just under the surface.
Gotcha.
But
we're sure that's not just like they're in a big city, they have road rage or something. I mean, I know there's no cars, but traffic can be terrible.
I mean, it could be, that's it, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like something's off. He's agreeing with it now, too. Loyal, I think, is already also starting to sense it a little bit, that just something's not right. Well, eventually, they do make it to a place where they're going to stop. They've made it out of the central part of the city, off to a different area, more inns and warehouses and stuff, and Lan leads them to one in particular called Easing the Badger.
There we go.
Perrin has no idea what that name means. I mean, we don't either, but Perrin thinks to himself, maybe there's a story it's based on, and I just never heard the story. It seems an odd name, Easing the Badger. It has gone on to lead to many people to postulate, what could this mean?
Could it be a story? Could be a sexual innuendo? It could be lots of things.
Could be. Speaking of sexual innuendo, when they go into this inn, they hear music, and it makes Perrin blush because it's a woman up there singing in the common room, and she is singing some bawdy songs. We'll hear more about that in a moment. This is an inn where Moraine and Lan have clearly been before. The proprietress, she comes right up to them. Oh, Mistress Mari! So different name.
It's not a code Alice, it's a code Mari. Got it.
That's right. She doesn't say anything to Lan, but she clearly recognizes him too. They're kind of a pair. She does look at the others, but doesn't say anything, just turns her attention back to Mistress Mari. And she's pleased to see her. Happy to, be their host again. She asks, have my messages been making it through to you? From which we get that she's one of these people who listens and watches and sends what am I hearing, kind of a local information person for either Moraine or maybe for her Aja or maybe the Aes Sedai as a whole. We don't know, but she's been sending messages to the White Tower.
The Dark One has his rats and the White Tower has people. We'll be kind enough not to call them rats, too.
Please. Moraine says, I'm sure your messages have been going fine. I haven't been back to the tower in a little while, actually, but I'm sure someone else has been collecting those. In the conversation, we learn a few things. One, that people here in Illion have been unsettled lately. There have been occasional fights here in the inn, something that never used to happen before. That's why we've got this performer singing all these raunchy tunes, something to entertain the common folk.
Gotcha.
So they're too distracted and laughing and such, and therefore not getting angry and fighting each other.
Bread and circuses. Got it.
Exactly. They learn there's a new lord on the Council of Nine, a man named Lord Brend. And it's a little odd because no one had heard of him before just this past winter. And now suddenly, he's not only on the council, he's the most powerful of the 9. Like, they all defer to him and follow his lead.
Well, that's a little sus.
Oh, you want to go a little further sus? Apparently people have been dreaming about him. the innkeeper, she's like, yeah, I've had these strange dreams with him in them, but then I've heard other people also dreaming about him. And I don't know if it's like some group hysteria or one person had a dream and talked to others and it just kind of spread. It's weird.
Maybe he's just really hot.
She does say people like him. He seems to be very popular and charismatic, but Moraine's reaction is to get really freaked out. Perrin can actually sense she looks afraid. Okay, Moraine? Afraid? Whoa, that's unsettling.
Not good.
I referenced earlier about that performer who's singing all these very coarse songs. I mean, it goes almost beyond sexual innuendo to pornographic music.
Okay.
I mean, she's being really obvious with the things she's singing about.
You're right. But on the other hand, most music is just talking about sex, so...
Yeah, but she's not just skirting around it. She's flaunting it, and she is flaunting it. Her outfit is also very flaunting. Perrin comments on to himself about how her blouse illustrates that she has a considerable bosom, most of which you can see.
She's living her best life, and Perrin...
That's it. That's part of the entertainment.
Doesn't know how to handle that.
Perrin's been very uncomfortable by all of this.
Yeah.
He keeps blushing. And Zareen, she's loving it. She is just finding his discomfort hilarious. He's just such a naive country boy, and she doesn't seem put off by this at all. Moraine then, she asks for their rooms, but just for the night. She says, we're going to be leaving for Tyr in the morning, and I need to know about any ships that might be headed that way. Well, that's apparently going to be a problem.
Why is that?
Yeah, Lord Brand, it appears, has declared no ships may go to Tyr, no commerce may go to Tyr, nobody's traveling to Tyr because we're going to go to war against Tyr, and that's what we're prepping for.
Well, shit.
And oddly enough, again, nobody's challenging this. Even the king, who's usually quick to challenge anything that the Council of Nine want to do, has remained silent. There's been nothing from the king.
You mean a charismatic leader was able to walk in and actually get things done? Weird.
It seems to be. Now that's a problem for them since they need to get to Tyr. Moraine's like, well, we'll figure something out. Show us our rooms and then we'll come back down. We'll have something to eat, I guess. So they do that. Perrin gets a room. We only hear in this chapter that, it's a little nicer than what he's been used to lately. So he's got a nice little room. Comes back down to the common room. As they all gather, he reconnects with Loyal and asks, so any problem? Did you hear about other Ogier or anything? And he's like, actually, no, it's a little strange. There are no Ogier in the city. They all left this past winter. Apparently just picked up and went. Their work wasn't even done. They left work undone. Ogier don't do that. Very strange. Oh, and one other thing. They do have an Ogier bed.
Oh, that's good.
That's a win.
You mean that one, like that one that he never got to sleep in?
I wonder if he'll get to sleep in this one. That would be just a crime.
If he doesn't,
he had to miss out again.
Then from now on, anytime we find an actual Ogier bed, we're just going to be confident that they don't get a good night's rest.
They can't stay. So the meal arrives, and it's fish. And it's not one Perrin is familiar with. He finds it rather tasty. It smells good, tastes good. Zareen's comment is, fish? I hate fish. Moraine just looks at her, says, eat it. Basically, remember, every meal might be your last. You don't know what's coming next. Don't turn your nose up at food.
Yes, Mom.
A little morbid there. This might be your last, ever.
Basically goes, hey, there are starving children in Kyrian right now. You better eat your fish.
Oh, yeah. Well, send it to them. Yeah. But I'm laughing at the Discord. Again, we can't tell you everything that shows up on Discord, but trust us, people. This stuff is funny. Become a patron. Join us here and see this stuff. So they eat their meal. Moraine's mood is a real downer. So they're pretty much quiet. And they just eat. When the food's gone, the plates are taken away, and they just sit. And no one's really talking, because Moraine is just sitting there, gloom and doom. She's pondering stuff. Zareen tries to ask what's wrong, and just Moraine snaps at her, no questions! It's like, okay, we're all just going to keep our heads down and sit here quietly. There's the music still going. They can listen to the music. They can zone out. And that's what they're doing when Perrin notices at one point there are 6 men walking across the common room all towards them.
That's weird.
He's like, huh. And they all look perfectly ordinary. Nothing to attract attention. But it smells wrong. Now, just before he noticed them, he had noticed a smell. Something off.
Interesting.
Like he had smelled a couple times before. Like at Jara, like at Remen, a couple of towns where some off things had happened. Mm-hmm. And so he's a little alerted when he sees these people walking towards him. And then he notices they all are pulling knives.
Oh.
And he raises the alarm. We're being attacked. And everybody goes into action then. Nobody had noticed these guys crossing, but when Perrin brings them to alert, bam, Moiraine's got a fireball going, Lan's going dancing with swords. Loyal picks up his chair and uses it as a club. I mean,
heck yeah.
They don't take it easy here. In mere moments, all 6 of the men are dead, laying on the floor.
Seems like they weren't super capable or anything. They just, were not noticed.
And that's the thing. Because Moiraine, she points out, gray men. These were all gray men. That's why we didn't notice them. And apparently, from the looks of what just happened, Perrin, they were all after you.
What do you mean? We were all here. What?
Well, as the battle started there, they all did beeline right towards Perrin. That's where their focus was. It was like the others weren't important to them. They were on a mission.
Yeah, if Fael didn't think he was important and wanted to stick with him before, she clearly does now.
Now, when Moiraine declares that they're gray men, there's some nervous, unsettled laughter in the room. And the innkeeper, she's like, that's not real. I mean, gray men? We don't believe in silly stuff like that. However, there is something they all do believe. They know she's an Aes Sedai now.
I mean, she did just throw
Some
a fireball.
lady stands up, starts chucking fireballs. That kind of gives it away.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Moraine's not particularly happy about that her secret is out, but what you gonna do? The cover's blown. The singer, she comes over. Aes Sedai, I'm so sorry about the music. I can sing something better now if you like. This image that Aes Sedai are apparently so proper and
they all go to the opera.
Yeah, Moraine's like, I've heard way worse than this. Way tawdrier. No, you sing whatever you want, girl. It's fine.
She heard Tom Maryland on the road, and who knows what he chose to do.
As the chapter ends, then, Moiraine, she goes to leave the inn. Just, I'm out. I'm leaving. And Lan goes to stop her. She's like, what are you doing? I mean, I'm coming with, aren't I? She's like, no. You always knew there are some things that I have to do that you can't help me with. This is one of those times. If I don't return, if I fall, you'll know, because you'll be compelled to go to the White Tower then. If that happens, you need to take Perrin with.
All right, Moiraine, now you're the one being sus here, okay? You are being very sus. What you doing, Moiraine?
Well, here's some conclusions we draw here. One, she says, okay, this attack, it was clearly at Perrin, which shows I've partly been a fool. Perrin is clearly important to the Shadow. I should have realized when we found the Dragon Reborn and 2 other extremely strong Ta'veren with him that meant something. And the Shadow apparently has already figured that out. So we need to take care of Perrin. We still have to try to get to Rand, but Perrin must be safe. So if I fall, you take Perrin to the Amyrlin. And maybe with Perrin and Mat, she can still do some things then to affect the world, to help how things move forward, even with Rand off doing whatever. Also, we learn here clearly that Moiraine is off to do something that's going to be very dangerous, and she knows she might not survive. But we don't know what. And neither will you, because that's where the chapter ends, and we're going to stop our content at that point.
Oh, no.
Yes, a cliffhanger, as Emmeline says. We get to leave on a cliffhanger today.
I don't like those.
As anybody who's listened to our recent midweek special on top 3 things and bottom 3 things, one of them is talking about cliffhangers. Yeah. Of course, that episode's not out yet as we're recording, but our patrons might have heard it.
But it'll be out before this is actually
when
published,
when this
right?
drops, it will be out, but as we're recording it, it is not.
Gotcha.
Anyways, Before we move on to our spoiler room section,
yes,
we do have a question from one of our listeners here that we can answer today.
We do.
So remember, we have our Ask Zach and Jim segment, and a question comes to us today from Jordo.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, what skills, technical or interpersonal, have you gained or honed while podcasting that you use outside of the podcasting arena?
I guess
that's kind of a deep question.
I have a singular one, and it kind of doesn't count, but it kind of does, which is to say I've grown in my communication, specifically with my dad. I actually talk to my family. I'm really bad at that.
We have never talked this much when you weren't living with us.
Honestly, we talked when I lived in the house, but we talk more now than sometimes we did then.
That's true. That's true. Yep. Well, we're sharing a common interest, and that helps for sure. For me,
I feel like you do more of the technical work, so.
Right, I do. But where do I use it outside of the podcasting arena? That's what's tough, because a lot of the skills that I've picked up doing this podcast, I do use for another podcast. Something related to my profession. I was actually doing that podcast before I started this one, but that one's gotten better because of skills I've learned with this one. So that's something. I guess the other thing that I've been able to grow in is simply Discord. Being able to connect with people using that platform. Because I interact with all sorts of people now that I never had any reason to be connected with before we started podcasting. Discord is great. It's been around a long time, but I didn't even know it existed.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of the word. Discord was a word that meant bad things. Conflict. Not discord as in we're talking about things in positive ways. So I think Discord has probably been the number one benefit to my life because of podcasting, of anything I can say.
There's been a lot of change and growth in this past year or so.
Yep. For the good. And a result of that will be in just a few months from now, we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, meeting a whole bunch of other people that we've connected mostly with through Discord. That'll be fun. Jordan Con, here we go. All right. That's where we'll end our regular content stuff. We do want to remind people again, look for all the ways you can connect with us in our show notes. Discord, Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All those things are there. Our merch shop, you can buy bling for Fantasy for the Ages, and our email, fantasyfortheages@gmail.com. Always, you can connect with us. We'd love to hear from people, so don't be afraid. Reach out. And that's where we'll stop for now. We'll let our first-time readers off the hook. Thanks for being here. And then we'll move into
the spoiler room,
where we get to full spoil something now, and we get to roll to see who goes first. I'm using my killer one that you gave me, Zach. So
I have a very large, sparkly pink one with gold flakes inside.
Oh. Well, I rolled a 12. What you got?
Half that.
Only a 6.
Like I said, I could roll with advantage and would still lose.
Okay, well, what I'm going to full spoil is we get that moment with Matt getting introduced to fireworks. And Aludra, we learn that she doesn't just do the same old thing, but she thinks of new things one might do with the things she's learned as an illuminator. Bring these two together. This is where it starts. Where it ends is she's got freaking cannons called dragons that are blasting Trollocs to itty-bitty bits. And it's amazing and massive and a huge, incredible part of the last battle to come.
That interaction.
There's a lot of steps along the way there, but this combination, huge.
That starting interaction between Matt and Aludra really just sets a lot of events in motion that eventually gets there, yeah.
You know, and Aludra is thinking about how fireworks, they're dangerous, but I'm coming up with new things I can do with them, like making matches. Matt is just curious about them and already has a history of digging around inside and seeing what we can do.
We can make
and of
things
course,
go boom.
He's going to take this gift of fireworks later in this book and blow a freaking hole through the Stone of Tyr. He has no fear. When you put this creative, no fear, I want to see what this can do, side by side with someone who actually knows about fireworks and is willing to be innovative, that's how you come up with cannons. So that's my full spoil.
I'm actually going to a similar place for spoilage, and it comes less from something that we directly read and more a comment that we kind of made there. You said Matt's not worried about like losing a hand, not worried about blowing that off. So 2 little things here. One, yeah, you're right. That's not the body part he's worried about losing.
Yeah, I was totally alluding to that.
He's definitely later going to lose an eye. That's okay. But in contrast, one of his other friends, might have a hand blown off. Cough, cough, Rand. So our main characters do sometimes get bits and pieces blown to smithereens. It happens.
They do.
But that's about all I was going for today.
Works for me. Good spoilage. Thanks, Zach. Enjoyed talking with you in this podcast again. We had great stuff here. Thank you to our Discordians who are with us here. Appreciate the engagement and fun. And until next time, we'll talk to you next time.